So let's say you're in the middle of some type of a conflict. Maybe it's a lawsuit. Maybe it's a divorce. Maybe it's some kind of family squabble. A real estate deal gone bad. Corporate contract. Maybe it's a negotiation about a sale. And you've decided that mediation would be a very good tool to use to try to get a solution for you and the other parties involved. Maybe you've read about mediation and can see that it's a way to break through the logjam, to kind of get both people moving forward. But what if you're the only one that sees this? What if the other party or parties do not see the benefit of mediation? Maybe they don't know about it. Maybe they know about it and they just refuse to do it, or they're just not interested in trying. Maybe they're stubborn. I'll bet if you're in a conflict with somebody, you think they're stubborn. Maybe they are, maybe they aren't. But mediation would be a solution if you can get them there. How do you get somebody to be interested in mediation when they're not? Let's look at a few ways, a few methods that you can help get another party to mediation, but also a few ways that you don't want to try that will backfire on you. First thing you don't want to try is having it be like it's your idea and you want to try to drag them in. Because look, you're already in a conflict with somebody about your ideas. If you just add this idea of mediation to the menu of subjects of conversation, they're going to resist it just on principle. It's like the kid who would love to eat mashed potatoes, but if you try to force feed them mashed potatoes, they're not going to eat it. They're going to resist just on principle. For those of you who have kids. Same thing with any subject. So if you want to try to get somebody to do something, you want to make it so that they see it as their idea too, or at least of interest. How do you do that? One way to do it, the first one, we'll give you 5 options, is to find the one thing in the conflict that's really their sticking point, like the one thing that they're really trying to get you to accomplish. Let's say it has to do with some dollar amount. If it's a negotiation on a purchase, maybe it's the price. If it's a negotiation on a settlement of a lawsuit, maybe it's the dollar amount of the settlement. If it's a conflict over damages, maybe it's the amount of damages. So take that one thing that you hear most from that other party, and you make the mediation about that. Say, look, here's what I'm going to do. Obviously, we can't get together in this. I want to hear you out about your position on this price, this damage, this amount. Why don't we do this? Why don't you tell your side of the story to a mediator, and they can have their opinion put on me. You tell your story. You pitch your case to this mediator, and I will listen to this position. I want to hear it through a mediator to see what they have to think. Third party. So make it about their thing. Right? That's number 1. Option number 2 is to make it about some time element. If you know that the other party is hung up on something with time, like I got to get this done by a certain date, or I want to have this deadline, make the mediation something that you are agreeing to get something by that deadline. Look, I want to have this settled by October 1st. Well, I'll tell you what, if we do this mediation, then we have to do this before I go any further. So make it a sticking point for that deadline. It's a little bit of a negative stereotype. It's a little bit of a forced agreement. But if you make it about something they want, it's a little bit of a trade-off. They can trade that for that time deadline that they're really working towards. Number 3, make it about hearing them out, listening to them. In many cases, the reason they party to a negotiation or a conflict or a controversy is difficult is because they feel like they're not being heard. That's what makes them stubborn, because they don't feel like anybody's listening to them. Nobody's hearing them out. A lot of times, just hearing their side of the story solves the problem by itself. They just want to get it off their chest without any changes in the terms. So if you can present it as, look, I have a mediator. They want to hear your side of the story. They'll give you unlimited bandwidth to tell what you have, to show your evidence, to show your point of view. Here's somebody who'll listen to your whole story. They won't interrupt you. They won't be like me and cut you off in the mid-sentence. They're going to listen to everything you have to say. So there's an option. Sometimes that by itself is a pleasing place. Look, a lot of times the other party Doesn't even have anybody in their life that will hear their side of the story. Their spouse, their relatives, their friends, their coworkers. They don't want to hear this story about their controversy over and over. They've heard it a million times. So here's somebody that will just shut up and listen. Undivided attention, hear what you have to say in the form of a mediator. Look, you don't want to pitch it as that the mediation is going to solve the problem. You just want to get them in the door. Just get them to the mediation. Let that process handle itself. Don't try to predict the outcome of it. Don't try to force through the outcome. Just get the person in the front door of mediation. It's almost like an intervention. You just want to get the person there. Let the process handle itself. Right? You don't want to try to overpromise what it's going to do or what the result is going to be. Say, look, just be there. And that brings us to number 4. And just make it a small ask. Say, look, I'm not asking you to go through a big hassle, this big mediation. Just do this for me. Have this conversation with the mediator. Can you commit to 20 minutes of a conversation? That's all I'm asking. Just 20 minutes. I promise I won't bug you about this anymore. Whatever you want to promise. Just get an ask. Get a commitment for a very small thing. A 20-minute conversation. You don't have to go anywhere. It'll be by video. Just talk to this person. Even if you just want to tell them, go to hell, whatever. Just talk to them, right? Make it a small ask so it's not a big deal like this mediation is going to be binding on them, because it's not. It's just one point of view. Make it seem like a smaller thing. And number 5, divert the conflict to the discussion of the mediation. So if you have a big conflict over a divorce settlement, let's say, somebody won't agree to a certain settlement, or they're stubborn about what the terms are, or child support, or visitation, whatever it is, divert the conversation from that and say, look, let's forget about that for a time being. Let's just talk about this mediation. Ask them about what their objection is to mediation. What is the biggest reason that you wouldn't want to do this mediation? Let them tell you. And then ask them, is there anything about it that does sound good? Is there any one part of it that's maybe on the pros and cons list, one pro? Now you have something to work with. Now your conversation is diverted from the main thing to the mediation. And maybe you can solve that and help get the person to that facilitation, that conversation, and solve the problem. So those are 5 ways you can try to get the other party to mediation to help you both get to the goal of a solved problem.